Kirk, and we're back out in the shed. We've been doing some running repairs, and as mentioned in the previous video, we're going to look at the Bolton East signal cabin, which was damaged by the scumbag who broke in. As you can see, they've tried to rip it off. The fingers have gone through the window and it's bent the roof. Now, the windows getting knocked in on these card buildings is something that does actually happen quite a lot. And there's probably a lot of people out there who've got these type of buildings, the Metcalfe, the super quick type things, where the windows pushed in, and they're thinking, how do I repair that? Because once the building's all glued up and fixed in place, you can't get access easily to the back of the windows to push them back into place. So what I'm going to try and do here is resurrect this signal box and repair the damage and show you really how I do it. Right, here we are. We're going to have some tools, bits and pieces that we're going to use here. So we've got sellotape, which is what I use to stick the windows in place. You can use other glues if you wish, but have to bear in mind that it's basically bonding plastic to cardboard, so pick your glue accordingly. We've got a wooden, well, just a piece of scrap off cut of wood there, in case we need to cut anything so that we don't damage whatever we're cutting on. I've got a Stanley knife here with a reasonably sharp blade. We're going to be using that to carefully dismantle or partially dismantle the top of the signal box so we can get access to the inside. And then when we come to put the roof back on, normally when you build these you'll use something like glue gum, but I want something that will stick quickly. Because I don't want to stand here for half an hour waiting for it all to dry. Because the roof's been bent, we have to force it back into shape. So I've got this has got glue and fix. Other brands are available. It's pretty much the same stuff as I remember from years ago, called Boss Stick, which may still be available, I'm not sure, but that's what we're going to use. And then in case we need to try and straighten an edge down here on the corner, I've just got a small needle type file that I'm going to use so I can brace against. You can use a small jeweler's type screwdriver as well, just as easily. It just happens to be what I've got to hand. Oh, and finally, in case we need to put any additional bracing inside to repair some of the damage, I've just got from the scrap box, it's just a piece of square section balsa. It's partly painted because it's been used somewhere else, doesn't matter. We'll trim it to size if we need it. We may not need that, but that's because this building has suffered extra bending damage. It's just to give it a bit of extra structural strength. Right, first thing to do, we take our Stanley knife here, and we need to actually part the roof from the main body of the signal box so we can get access back into the inside. And with the sharp knife, what we're looking to do is get that up and underneath and just slit the original glue joint. Just run it carefully along, making sure that the blade doesn't cut out and through the wall or the roof, because that'll make quite a mess for us. And we can feel that it's parting quite easily. The building was built originally using glue gum. We've got to be careful at the ends, because you can see we've got these barge boards. So let's just finish the edge there, and we can probably peel that up without damaging the barge board. It doesn't matter if you hear sounds of what sound like paper ripping. Some of that will just be the card, the top layer parting with the glue. So let's just make sure that's all free. And there is, of course, because this is two signal boxes joined together, there is effectively an internal wall just there that we need to make sure that we get. Now let's just see if we can carefully lift this up. That doesn't want to go in the middle there, so we need to a little further in with the craft knife and part that glue joint. If it goes in further than your craft knife will reach, we can make use of the little file here, just to reach in further and try and prise it neatly off. We've loosened this side now. We can just pull that up. We're not doing the other side because we only need to access to get our fingers in just here. So there's no point in making everything part company. We can see on this kit there were tabs inside the building. So what we've got to do is very carefully, so we don't damage the end walls, just get that to part company. Just lever this forwards, bend it down a little bit. Now, see at this stage, it's a tight fit, but we can get a finger inside, and you can see there we can push the windows back against the frame. What we can see here is that the end wall here has been bent, where the little scumbags put their finger against it and just try to rip it off. So we're just going to try and gently bend that back into shape and get the window back in there. Now that central bar is snapped off. Originally this is just one die cut piece of cardboard, but because it's snapped there, what we've got to try and do is just move that back in, just there at the bottom. We're going to put a tiny dab of glue, and then we're going to just work that back in. I mean, there will be a little bit of a join there, but we can cover that with a bit of weathering or a bit of paint. And we're just going to, yeah, there we go, free up this window so we can reposition it. In fact, actually it's probably easiest to take this window out and start again. Because this is proving a little bit awkward, what we're going to do is, rather than use the sellotape, I'm going to try and use some of this adhesive very carefully to get the window to stay put once I force it into place. So just got to be very careful here, because it may start to lift some of the white printing. So just put some of that around there and up there. Now hopefully we can force it into position, and the adhesive will just help it to stick a little bit. It's still a little bit on the high side, but just going to try and work that down. And we're just going to hold that in place for the glue to take. We can strengthen it afterwards with some of the sellotape behind. But for now we just want it to hold in the right place so that we get a chance to do that. Right, now we can see that glue's taken, so we can let go and that window should just stay in the right place. There's still quite a bend to the card, and that's where this piece of balsa that we got from the scrap box might just come in. What we're going to do is see whether we can get that glued in into the corner, and that should just hopefully provide just a little bit of extra support. Not sure whether this piece is going to be suitable, because it is quite large now. Fortunately it protrudes. Right, we haven't been able to find anything suitable in the scrap box, so as it is balsa, it has been pointed out to me that we can hopefully cut this, preferably without cutting our own fingers, but So we're just going to cut that lengthways and then lengthways again. It's not the sharpest of knives. It's obviously easier if you've got a sharper knife. But then we've pared it down, so we've got these much smaller section pieces. I'm going to see now whether that will fit into the corner and just give it the strength without disappearing into, yeah, that fits quite nicely. And what we can do there is we can then glue it in and brace the card against it, just to give that corner a bit of strength. So I'm going to use the same glue again. Right, we'll just slide this strengthening piece down into the corner. Just slide it right down, and there we go. That just gives this corner a bit of strength where it's been damaged. Just hold that for a moment whilst the glue takes. You need to squeeze it pretty tight. You don't want it drifting away from the card. This will also help hold in the windows as well. Right, this glue does tend to take quite quickly. The next stage, we're just going to put in a piece of sellotape. It's probably easier to do this with a pair of scissors, but I don't have one to hand. And what we're going to try and do is get this down and in. And it's just a little bit of something extra to make sure that that window stays put this time round. Right, before we start to glue the roof back on, I'm just going to put some glue down this corner. We can see that the top layer of the card has been split away slightly, so what I'm going to do is work a little bit of glue in there. Just put that to one side, and then we're going to squeeze that in, hold it and wait for the glue to take, and that should just remove that unsightly rip at the top. I'm going to take a look at some of the rest of the roof. There are some bends on the back, but we can fix them with a little bit of glue. Right. Now this looks good now to get the roof back on. And same glue that we've been using all the way through. And we're going to get that back underneath, running it around the edge of this flap first. Bit there. And bit there. I'll fold this flap back in where it came from. And now, making sure we get all of the edges, we're going to make good use of the glue. Make sure it's along all the edges, because that's what holds the roof down nice and tight. And this dividing wall as well here is important, because the roof will bow into funny shapes if it's not well stuck to that. We can see here some of the roof on the other side's broken free, so we're just working a little bit of glue down that side as well. Right, and now fold the roof back down, and we need to hold it firmly here, make sure that it's in place throughout its full length. Got a slight bend there from the damage. We can just try and bend that down. Once the glue's taken, it should hold some of these bends okay. So the roof's on, bend at the end is largely fixed. Just a little bit of final adjustment. That should hopefully be alright. And then there's some minor damage to the ridge tiles there. Just see where they've been caught and pulled off slightly. Just get that underneath there. Smooth them down. Just hold in place. And it's not perfect, but it's a lot better than it was. And the big issue with these buildings is they look awful if the windows have been pushed in, and as you can see on this, we have fixed that. The windows are back in place. It's not as good as it was before because of the bending damage where the scumbag has tried to rip it off the layout, but it'll do until such time as I get round to building a brand new replacement. Well, there we go. That's a quick repair of pushed in windows on card building kits in a nutshell. I hope that's been useful to somebody out there, and also it's nice to see some of the damage here on Trinity Road slowly get put right using an airlift worth of glue. Never have too much glue. But until next time, this is me, Jennifer Kirk, saying bye for now. Don't forget to like this video or share it if you think that it needs to be shared. And you can catch up with all the other videos that we've been filming on this layout, the construction of it, trains running in happier days, the damage that was caused during the break-in, and the phoenix rising from the ashes. Anyway, you take very good care of yourself for now, and this is me, Jennifer Kirk, saying bye for now.